My name's Matthew Bellinger. I'm here from Death & Company in downtown Los Angeles. I'm the beverage director for Death & Company, and we're here to make some eggnog. We started making eggnog every holiday season in about 2015. It's just like a really fun, festive thing to offer. Like, you know, Death & Co is a really serious cocktail bar, and the fun part can get lost. So this is an attempt to like bring the fun part to a very serious, you know, classic cocktail kind of situation. It's really interesting about eggnog, especially if you make it yourself and if you use, you know, the right spirits or use a particular recipe. It's actually totally shelf stable, which is kind of a weird thing to think about. But essentially, like if you make a batch of this eggnog, you could make a bottle of it and stick it in the back of your freezer and leave it in there, and it will be good forever, essentially. Like you could even leave it out on the counter or something like that in your house. And again, provided you use spirits that are high enough proof, it'll basically just age forever and just kind of get better and better and more interesting, and it'll never go bad, it'll never spoil or get rotten or anything like that. And yeah, so we would make this in huge batches at the bar, like a you know, a cooler the size of a coffin, almost like a huge vessel full of eggnog, and bottle it and then save it, and we would just save it for months. A couple times we would make a bottle or two of it and save it the entire year until the next year and taste it. We never like have enough lying around to really sell it for the entire season, but generally like the first batch of eggnog you're gonna get is gonna be the one from the previous year, and it's always pretty special. Let's start cracking some eggs. At the time we were all kind of like, are we gonna do this? This seems kind of weird, but it took off so much. Every winter it'll be the best selling drink, maybe like for the entire season, you know, from like October through March, even though it's really only on the menu for a month. So first thing we're gonna do once we've cracked all these eggs is blend them. It's so many eggs. Again, like you really have to be comfortable with how potentially gross the first part of this recipe is, but the payoff is absolutely worth it. What do we just say? Yeah, so we're basically, I mean, the eggs, we're just gonna blend them until they are fully mixed together. Now the one thing you really have to keep in mind when you're doing this, again, if you're making a big batch, is like you're pulling milk out of the fridge, it's gonna be really cold because this is really high sugar ratio to liquid. And then obviously the liquid is cold, and it's also got a bunch of fat and other stuff in it. It's not just water. The sugar really doesn't want to dissolve into the milk. So that's the reason we use the blender and why you kind of want to combine this in a particular order. Work out of order here at any point. Like if you put booze into it before you kind of fortify the milk, especially with sugar, you could start to curdle the milk. Next thing we want to do, now I've got the milk, which is 4 to 8 ounces of milk. And we're gonna blend this for quite a while until we make sure that all the sugar gets dissolved. What we do at the bar to test this is like we'll take a straw or a spoon or something and stick it in there, and just essentially we're gonna like taste it and make sure that you can't taste any granularity on your palate anymore. Is how you're gonna know that all of your sugar is dissolved. We're using whole milk and heavy cream and sugar. I mean, the eggnog is not really meant to be like particularly healthy or particularly low calorie. Like if that's what you're in for, this may not necessarily be the recipe for you. Like it's supposed to be really rich, and actually the reason that we're able to age this the way that we are is because there's very low water activity and there's very high alcohol content. So like the amount of fat that goes into it is actually contributing to the shelf stability of the eggnog. So now that we've got all that together, we're just gonna whisk it together to make sure that it is well integrated. And again, if you've done the right thing with your sugar here and made sure that there's no particulate left in the milk before you pour it, then it should be really easy to mix together. You don't really need to like do terribly much, just make it sure once it looks continuous here. What we've got here, the like batter, is essentially eggnog. This is the thing that you, if you go to the store and buy a carton of eggnog off the shelf, this is essentially what you're gonna get, except this is a lot fresher and a lot simpler, and I think is gonna taste better. But obviously the reason we're here is because we're gonna add some liquor to the eggnog, which is our particular specialty. We're sort of using a pretty traditional split of stuff, a bunch of spirits of the sort that would have been around when eggnog was first invented and when people were first enjoying it. We've got some Madeira, which is a fortified wine similar to sherry in that it's aged in some oxidative contact, so it's got a lot of like nutty cacao, baking spice kind of quality to it. An overproof Jamaican rum. It's got some oak, but it's also really intensely funky, like kind of like roasted banana, tropical fruit. And we've got some cognac, and like a well-made cognac is going to lend vanilla. It's going to lend a lot of like richness, toffee, brown butter. And then the majority of the base is going to be an overproof bourbon. So you can really use any bourbon that you like. But again, like a higher proof one is going to be ideal. Though what we're using here is Maker's Mark, which is the cask strength, which is 113 proof. So pretty boozy. Now that we've got it in there, it's not going to take much. I'm just whisking it to make sure that the alcohol's fully integrated. And that's basically our eggnog. Yeah, you can smell it. I mean, it's definitely not weak. And then there you go. Just bottle that and stick it in your fridge, and there you go.